Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Hockey Life podcast presented by Skaters Network. Today we are joined by Al Becken, East Coast Super League, AIHL, 10-time national team representative. Alan, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is kind of surreal, to be honest with you, but I think we're going to have a little bit of fun today.
I think so.
It's definitely. I think there's a lot of stories that you have encountered, experienced, witnessed over your illustrious career that I think the people of the Australian hockey community deserve to hear.
They need to know. We need to record this at some point, and I'm glad that we found today. We bumped into each other last week.
Yeah.
And we just were like, we have to do this. You already started rattling off a few stories.
Oh, God.
And we had to stop him and go, all right. We go when are you free? Monday? All right, cool. Let's lock it down Monday. Let's get ready to go. So I'm pumped.
So Al, Let's throw it all the way back, okay? Canada, you start playing hockey. Is this age of 9 that you start?
Yes, age of 9, I started playing hockey. Funny thing is that I went out and, because in Canada, a lot of guys and girls, for that matter, start playing hockey a little bit earlier. I was a little bit late to the game at 9, and went out and I couldn't play. And embarrassingly, I cried because I couldn't. I said, "Mom, they wouldn't pass me the puck." And my mom said, and my mom knew nothing about hockey, said, "That's probably because you can't skate." Duh. Anyway, she says,
God bless her.
Maybe you need to get some skating lessons so that you can learn how to skate, and that's where it started.
Now, am I correct in thinking you grew up in a smaller town?
Okay,
so
I'll do that. I'll give you, if you want, what really small town is. So, small town in Canada, and to those that are watching from Canada, rightly or wrongly, this is my experience. So I grew up in a small town called Thompson, Manitoba. To give you an idea geographically, it's above the 53rd parallel. You might be thinking, Al, why are you telling me about the 53rd parallel? Well, because above the 53rd parallel is starting to get into polar bear country. So I only lived 250 kilometers away from where the polar bears actually lived. So the average temperature in a small town like Thompson, Manitoba in the winter is minus 30 to 32 degrees Celsius. I have experienced minus 58 degrees Celsius. I've worked outside in minus 58 degrees Celsius, which, by the way, I think it's from minus 28 onwards, exposed skin freezes in about 3 minutes. So small town, 17,000. We didn't have a McDonald's. So just to give you, to those that are watching, we didn't have a McDonald's, okay? No McDonald's, okay? And we had 2 shopping centers, and one shopping center would be caught dead in.
Now, the reason that I'm bringing that out is because New South Wales in particular at the moment is experiencing a little bit of an ice time shortage. I mean, 2 rinks down. So was that a common theme kind of with you growing up, that there wasn't enough teams for all the players? Was it hard to find teams?
So first of all, it's really kind of unfair, if I could, to talk about the rinks because of the climate in Canada, you're able to play outdoors as well, right? So for us, where I grew up, yes, we had training and we would actually play games in the arena, but more often than not, a lot of your practice and a lot of your self-taught self-commitment took place on outdoor rinks, and there was just a plentiful of outdoor rinks. I remember quite common coming home with frostbite on my toes, having been out for 6-7 hours out there skating on an outdoor rink, minus 20, minus 25 degrees Celsius. And can I just tell you, if you've ever experienced being hit in the groin with a puck in minus 20 degrees, well, I'm telling you, it's just a new level of pain.
You can't feel it.
You can feel it. You can feel it. And we used sponge pucks, so you play sponge pucks because sometimes you didn't have equipment. And some of the guys would let her rip, and I'd be playing goal. I'd get it in the groin, and let me tell you, it would knock you for 6. But to answer your question, kind of unfair because we had outdoor rinks that we could all play and, I guess, develop ourselves in that respect.
Yeah, it's the Canadian dream.
First set of pads, first set of gear. What do you remember? Come on, I'm imagining brown leather. Like that's just
Okay,
what's
so,
coming to
look,
my mind.
Yes,
You know?
brown leather.
Stuffed with hay.
Nice, nice, fellas. Yeah. No, it's horsehair.
Okay, well, close
Okay.
enough.
So back then,
You had the good pads.
I had the good pads. So I got a pair of Jofa pads. Now, if those of you that can go back into yesteryear, Jofa was a very popular brand. I got those pads. My mom bought them for me. I begged my mom for about a year. When I got them, no word of a lie, I slept with them on strapped to my legs in my bed for the first week.
Yes, I love that.
Okay.
That's as old school as it gets. That's like pouring hot water on your skates and like wearing them, like as you're sleeping. Like that's amazing.
It's so nice to get on here and to be able to have these conversations and know that you're going to be just shish kebab by you guys.
That's all right, mate.
Because of the older generation that you're talking to. Nice, fellas. Nice.
But I mean that's. And I mean, you love them. Like, I know for my first set of gear, like, it didn't matter what it was. Like, I was just completely obsessed with it and thought it was the best thing ever. But, you know, like, as you're getting older, is it kind of like every 2 years you're getting new sets of pads, new kind of gear to kind of come into the roster?
Okay. Can I just take 5 seconds of latitude, tell you a quick story about the old gear, and then I'll answer that question? So I played hockey. If you ever seen a goalie glove of today, the catcher it comes right through here, right?
Yeah.
It comes here. When I played, that didn't exist. That was called a cheater. Ooh, okay, it was called a cheater. Yeah. And it would be let's call it aftermarket.
Yeah.
But there was no such thing that you could go aftermarket, like, today now you can aftermarket. We didn't have an aftermarket. You made it yourself, right?
Way.
Wow. You made it yourself. And that cheater I had made by a local leatherman. He made the cheater for me. So I had the cheater. I was probably one of the first goalies where I grew up to actually have a cheater on my Cooper gold glove.
Wow.
Okay. Awesome. Now, also, just on that, just a quick story, and then I'll answer your question, I promise. I also was involved in playing junior hockey, jumping forward, but back in the day when we had that equipment. You know how we didn't, today's goal equipment, you have straps inside you can cinch, so you can tighten on your hands. I never had that. So I was playing game, well, I wasn't playing, I was dressed, backing up. Dean Shaw was the starting goaltender for Selkirk Steelers. He was playing. We were playing Weyburn Red Wings, Game 6, and the puck came towards him, and he poke checked, right? His glove came off. Now remember, now we have the straps, right? Yeah. You cinch him on. His glove came off. The puck came towards him, right? He instinctively, with his blocker, reached out, grabbed the puck. Yeah. Unfortunately, as he did, one of the Weyburn guys skated through the crease and took 3 fingers off. Oh! No, I'm not kidding you. This is no word of a lie. And I'm going to tell you why I'm telling you that story in a minute. He reached out, grabbed it, the fingers came off. Our trainer leaped off with a margarine or butter container, right? Put the fingers in, piled the snow in, right? Took him off the ice, over on the bench. 6 of the 6 guys on our bench are puking over the boards, having witnessed it. And guess who's got to go in now? Yeah. Okay, so I go in. Why am I telling you that story about equipment? Is because of Dean Shaw and because of that accident, Cooper was the first one to introduce the cinching of the actual gloves inside. That's how it actually happened. And to give you, I guess, a great ending to that story of Dean Shaw was successful in being taken to hospital. He had his fingers reattached. All of them. And he went on to receive a scholarship, and he played 4 years in the United States after that injury. So although a graphic, terrible story. Yep. So your question to me was about equipment, about changing equipment, right? Equipment nowadays is made with such incredible sophistication, and the research and development that goes into them, I find that they can break down. However, the art of taking care of goalie equipment, I think, is becoming lost in understanding how to take care of equipment. And it's as simple as airing your gear after every training session and every practice. Now, I do apologize for going on, but
No.
I just wanted to bring in that story so that you understood if we're going to talk about equipment.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I'm old enough to be able to tell stories like that, but I witnessed it, and that is an honest to God truth. Dean Shaw, starter for Selkirk Steelers, lost his fingers, and that's why Cooper introduced the actual inside straps, and that's how they came to be.
That's incredible.
Backstory, Cooper, starter of Adlon Trading, wrote a letter to Mr. Cooper to try and get distribution rights for hockey gear or to order hockey gear. This was after going to the Canadian consulate and trying to line up because no one could get gear. This was back in the days, so everyone was riding horses and things. It was crazy. But anyway, got it. Cooper invited him over there to stay at his house. Wow. He went over, stayed at his house, and they drafted up the first contract and got distribution. Wow. And everything's history from there. Amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah. We got to get Don on because he's got some stories. I mean, Don Ralston.
Yeah, Don's
amazing.
Don's a legend. Holy hell! He must that's hockey players for you though. Like, you love the game so much that you almost lost 3 digits and still came back and kept playing the game. That's incredible.
Yeah, Dean Shaw was a fantastic goaltender, and I honestly, obviously, without saying, we lost. They lost the series, and Weyburn went on to play in the Western Centennial Cup final. However, it was an incredible learning experience for me to see someone like that, to have the fortitude to not give up and to battle through, and then to go on and to, I guess, get a college scholarship, and then to continue to play. And I don't know whatever happened to him after that because I lost touch with him. But I mean, I was only 18 years old. My God, I barely had hair on my chest, for God's sakes.
And the fact that it was his blocker hand as well.
Yes.
You have to actually have grip strength and all that sort of stuff coming back from that. That's incredible.
Yep.
What a story. This is going to be amazing.
Now, if we're fast forwarding, AB, because I want to get it to, when you land in Australia and you meet some of the characters that we know, but college, University of Alberta?
College, I played for Red Deer College for 2 years. And then I went to, after that, I transferred over to U of A because the degree that I was taking at the time didn't allow me to actually get a degree at a college. You can get a diploma because it's 2 years, but I had to go to university to get my degree. Long story short, to those that are watching this, if you back in the day when I played, there's eligibility periods. So, for example, you're only eligible for 5 years to play. Do you understand? So, if you understand eligibility, and I promise you I'm not making excuses, but if you use 2 years of eligibility and then you transfer to a university, then the university hockey team has to look at their depth. You understand with it? So if you're going to bring in a goaltender who's already used 2 years of eligibility and he's going to graduate in 2 years' time, he's only going to play for 2 years. Then if you have a guy coming in who's a freshman, he's got 4 years of eligibility. That is something you have to really look at. And when you already have a starter there and your backup and you're looking for a third string, because that's what they were looking for, I didn't cut the mustard. But Claire Drake was the coach of the University of Alberta Golden Bears. And those that are watching that may know about Claire Drake. Claire Drake coached professionally in the National Hockey League for about 10 to 15 years and was an absolute legend in his time.
Awesome. And now you play there.
Yeah, I played college,
How does Australia, and you're doing your degree.
Yeah. So
you finish your degree and then Australia, how does that come up? Are you coming out here to work or?
All right, so here we go. So because the hockey dream is still alive, okay? Yeah. So I finished playing college and I got my degree. There's a couple of classes that I'm thinking about, and I get approached to go play for another college because I'm thinking of another degree. I go there, I play. I'm playing, and then I go and I travel. I come over to Australia. I meet my now wife on a blind date. Let's just say we had a connection. I go back to Canada. I'm playing this college, and because I'd used up that visa, I've got to work out how to get back. So I just said, well, I wonder if they got ice hockey in Australia. So I reach out, And lo and behold, there happens to be hockey in Australia. So then they send out a scholar or somebody to go and have a look at me, a scout, sorry, and I'm playing for Royal College in Edmonton. Anyways, they saw it, they thought, he's pretty good. And because in university in Canada, they offer coaching degrees as well. So I took my coaching, and I got an actual degree, or like a minor in coaching. So because I was qualified, because I was still playing, and because I could still compete, they decided that I might be a great import. Now, I was brought over by the Canterbury Eagles. Wow. Yes.
Dynasty.
Dynasty. So anyways, lo and behold, we did a whole bit of toing and froing, and Canterbury decided to bring me over as a player import coach. So imagine being a coach and being a goaltender at the same time. Wow. So I came over. A lot of paperwork, but let's just move to the hockey part. Came over there, and I remember my first training session like it was yesterday. I got on the ice, I got all the pucks, I devised the training program, and then some of the players, which I'm going to name now, you're probably going to go, oh my God. So one of the players, I just dropped the pucks, and if you come from Canada, you realize there's a time when you touch the pucks, and when the coach asks you to touch the pucks. Yeah. And of course, Paul Schumack comes by, grabs the puck,
a few times,
and off he goes. Yeah. So of course, I have the luxury of having to tell Paul Schumack not to touch the pucks. Yes. And then I happen to also notice. Dare you. Yeah, exactly. And
who's this guy?
So I got over here and I started to play, and another thing is that I had Brian goal gear at the time. Now, to the goalies that are watching this, if I could take you back, do you remember they're affectionately known as cow catchers? Do you remember the goalie pads that had the plastic pieces? They were on the front. Ooh. So pads, and then Brian came out with plastic pieces. Why?
Well, we're going to put a photo up here. Put a photo in.
So anyways, I came over and I was the first goalie to have these called cow catchers, right? It was the in thing in Canada. And the idea was that if your stick came off the ice, if the puck came underneath, it still couldn't go underneath your skate.
Gotcha.
Okay? Yeah. So they made a noise. So every time I skated, so why am I telling you that story? Because every time I went in and played the Warringah Bombers, the Canberra Knights, whatever it is, and of course, I got known as the cow catcher, right? So who is this, can we say wanker? Who's this wanker with these frickin' plastic pieces on the front of his pads? Of course, I thought I was all that in a package of chips.
Yeah, like, this is the best, this is the latest and greatest.
I
don't know what you guys are laughing at. This is what the pros were.
Yeah, so, that's how I came to play hockey in Australia, and it was an awful long time to understand the culture. Yeah. Okay? I really need for you to understand, like, to non-Australians, right? I chose to come to Australia because I thought, I want to repeat, I thought I wouldn't have to deal with the language barrier. But I can honestly tell you, I arrived in Australia.
They speak English, right? It should be easy.
I remember I arrived, and because I have my equipment, I have my goal equipment. I'm taking public transport, okay? Caught a bus, and at the time, remember the bus drivers back then, they had little pouches?
Yeah.
And
we actually don't remember.
Just smile and nod.
So anyways,
I saw it in a movie once. It was a black and white movie.
The guy says to me, he goes, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to Bondi. If you could tell me how to go to Bondi. So he would tell me what bus to catch. And I was like, what did he just say?
Yeah. What?
So I'd ask him to repeat it.
Yeah.
He said it again. I didn't get it. Third time, I just said, what do I do? So I just went, Bondi. So he just gave me, and he goes and he gets on the bus driver and tells the bus driver. The bus driver goes, because he knew I couldn't understand what he was saying. Put me in the front, piled all my goal gear on a freaking bus from downtown, right, all the way in. So anyways, that's why I come in. That's just some of the culture shocks.
Hang on, what else were you expecting to see at Canterbury Ice Rink when you arrived and didn't see?
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Going from a rink that probably had glass and everything like that, and smooth ice and nice and cold. Like, what was that first experience of Australian ice like for you?
Okay, so before we get to the ice, let's just talk about the fact that maybe spoiled, maybe not spoiled, but it became apparently obvious to me that I was in a completely different world because players brought their sticks into the dressing room. So let's just start there.
Yeah.
So where I played, you don't bring your sticks.
No, you put it outside.
You put them in the stick rack.
Yeah.
There's no stick racks.
Yeah.
So then you go
Automatic red flag straight away.
Right away,
Just
it's like,
instant regret.
I made a mistake.
It's like, whoa.
no stick racks.
Especially
And
Canterbury with the old airplane hangar roof that's it's been repaired right now. But yeah, keep going.
so then you get to the dressing room. You go, wait a minute. Is this where you
This is
store?
it?
Is this where you store the brooms?
Yeah. I was gonna say, is this the
Where's
closet?
where's the stall? And more importantly, at the time, where's the rubber to protect your skates so that you could walk without actually getting? Because we had some of it was ice patches. I remember ice patches. They didn't have rubber.
So they didn't send photos or anything of like what you were walking into, you know?
Mate, not only did they not send
jumped
photos.
on the plane, mate. I don't think he would have jumped on the plane.
It must have been a trip just to get there and just see, you know, what it was in that state, which we're lucky to have, and it's amazing. But at that point, for you, it like must have been.
Okay, you want to talk about a trip? I'll tell you about a trip. Okay, here's the trip. If those of you that are watching this, if you can remember back in the day when Narrabeen had an ice rink, right?
Just for the kids, there was a rink in Narrabeen.
Okay.
Like, way back.
It would be about the same size as the Ice Zoo in Alexandria now.
Yeah.
So imagine playing I guess the equivalent of AIHL in a rink with 5 on side in a rink the size really, if I could be honest
Of the
with you.
stick studio.
Well, I was going to say from maybe the red line back.
Yeah.
Right? So then you walk into that ice rink and then you wind up, and then what I found was really cool is they would shoot and then there was no plexiglass.
No.
It would hit the netting, but the puck would fly back
And
like
rebound.
30 feet.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You play that.
Yeah. It's game on. Yeah.
It's game on. It's like, I felt like saying, like, are we playing hockey or is this squash?
Yeah.
So look, to say that it was a culture shock would be a gross understatement. But having said that, a lot of wonderful memories and a lot of wonderful stories, which I'm sure you're going to coax out of me in a minute. Look, definitely a culture shock.
Amazing. And when did you start playing for the national team? Like after you got here, you know, you started to coach.
Okay.
And then when did you get citizenship to, you know, be on that team?
Okay. 1995 was when I was cleared to play. Now, just understand the fact that when you come over as an import, I came over in 92, so I had 3 years. So I actually had to go through the 3-year process of becoming a permanent resident and then citizenship, right? So I am very thankful because the Australian Ice Hockey Federation at that time had people that were there, although volunteer, would help players that they identified that were willing to actually commit to living in Australia, would then go down that process. So I was very thankful that I had, I can't remember her name, but she helped me through that process. We got there.
And
Now,
so it took you 5 years to make that decision? Like thinking
no.
about everything
The moment that I arrived, and obviously I knew that I'd come back for my partner, and I knew that she was going to be in my life forever. She was, and wife and 2 children is a testament to that. Yeah. But it took 3 years to get to that process. So I imagine you arrive, you play 1 season, and then the national coaching program, they approach you, they say, listen, are you interested in living in Australia? I said, absolutely. I've found my wife to be, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, that 3 years goes through. Can I tell you about 94-95 season?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so 94-95 season. To those that know me about playing hockey, I will unashamedly tell you I have a temper, okay? And I am extremely competitive. I am fair, but I am competitive. So why am I telling you that? Well, unfortunately, playing in Narrabeen, there was one particular fan who didn't like me. And he would heckle me, and because there was no plexiglass, he would be right behind me all the time.
God.
And he would say less than desirable things to me. I was young and I was impressionable, and I was competitive.
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't realize that I should have taken that as a badge of honor because they obviously found me as a threat.
Yeah, they never boo the bad players.
That's right. Anyways, let's just say that this guy said something that tweaked me really badly. So I took it upon myself to take my blocker and to punch him in the head through the netting.
Yes.
So
Yes.
That's as old school as it gets.
Old school as it gets, right? So suffice to say that I was brought up before the judiciary.
Yeah.
Suffice
Had
to
a judiciary back then?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And then, of course, that put a bit of a concern for the national program because I was I was just about to get my citizenship. I was about to become eligible, and we are going to be going away in 95.
They
Anyways,
thought, oh no, he's a screw loose.
Yep. And in that game,
I feel like that would have been endearing to some of the hockey fraternity on that team,
I mean,
at certain times. So maybe a negative, maybe a positive in some ways.
look, you're right.
Perspective. It's all about how you look at it.
That's right,
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
So then, in that game, I unfortunately also did my knee. I did my knee, and I was now faced with not only the judiciary, but I was going to be out for at least 6 months because I had to have an ACL reconstruction.
Wow, that's serious.
Serious. So I decided to be positive, and I worked my butt off, had the surgery immediately, and then I did a lot of the rehabilitation myself, and along with the physiotherapy, and then I attended the judiciary. They gave me the amount of time just enough to keep me on the season, but to be eligible
For the national
team.
Yeah.
So anyways, I worked my butt off, did the training, we moved forward. I'm assuming you want to get to the 95 World Championships. Is where you want to go?
Yes, the first one.
Okay.
Come on, I've heard stories.
Okay, so here we go. I am, so first of all, to those that are watching that have played.
Hey everyone, Sean here. Unfortunately, this next 4 minutes of the podcast, one of our video and audio feeds was dropped here, so we don't actually have the best quality for it, but I promise this is a really important part of Alan's story, so just bear with it for the next 4 minutes, and then we'll be back to video and the crispy audio coming right up.
With me in 1995, I will be forever grateful to all of you because you have made a profound impact on my life, and I do mean that. I was third string goaltender. The starter was Damien Holland. Damien, if you're watching, mate, you're an absolute legend of the game.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to you, mate. It was an honor and a privilege to play with you. And then, of course, the second goaltender was a young fellow that played out of Canberra. For the life of me, his name escapes me. I don't know why, because he was an amazing goaltender. He went on to he was playing at the time overseas. He was playing for Cornell Big Red.
Yeah.
And he was, he'll come to me. Anyways, so it was 1 and 2, and I was the third string. So, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, but Damien wasn't able to be eligible, so then he went, and he wasn't to be able to play. So then the goaltender that was playing overseas for Cornell was going to be number 1, and now it's number 2. So now I'm going to be dressing. So I'm excited.
Good news.
Good news. We go to camp, and Dan Reynolds was our coach. Dan, if you're watching, I just want you to know that you had a unique coaching style, and I'll never forget some of the phrases that you used in terms of describing what we're going to do. I understand you have an Army-Navy background. I'll never forget that as long as I live. I'm not going to repeat that, but suffice to say, to those that know Dan Reynolds, and those that played with him in the national team, if you're laughing right now, Dan, just understand, we're laughing with you, not at you. Having said that,
He's an intense guy.
he's an intense guy.
Let's just say that.
Yeah. So anyways, we go. We get to South Africa, and then we realize that unfortunately the goaltender that's going to be the starter is not going to be able to make it. He tells us the day before the championships arrive. Right? We're in South Africa. So then what happens is that I'm now starting. Now imagine, in all seriousness, imagine you're on the team, you're third string, you're not dressing, then number 2, now you're starting. Your dream has come true. I mean, In all honesty,
The opportunity of a lifetime.
an opportunity for a lifetime. Absolutely. Anybody that gets an opportunity to represent your country, in all seriousness, it is the greatest thing that you could ever be bestowed upon you, and I am absolutely pumped. So the day we're here, first game, my coach, Dan Reynolds, comes up to me, and I'm in line for the food, right? Pre-game breakfast. Dad comes up to me and he says, Alan, I got something to tell you. And when I tell you, I want you to be emotionless because I don't want you to affect the team. I said, all right. Because I want you to know that I've just found out from a meeting of all the teams that you've been deemed ineligible because your ITC card has not been cleared. So there's a period of time that when your ITC card has to be submitted to IHF, and it's got to be cleared to allow you to
Process and all that.
process, exactly. So then he says, so you've been deemed ineligible, but you can't express your emotion. Now, I want to go back for a second. Let's just go back. Why did I tell you about what happened about being suspended?
Yeah.
That played on my mind about being eligible to play.
Yeah.
Then I have to go through knee reconstruction.
Yeah.
Do you understand what that means?
Oh, the rehab process. The
rehab process.
The mental side of it is,
Exactly.
is just as important as the physical side because
So
it
then
plays
you-
on you so much.
That's right. And then, Brian, I know because you played for the national team, you know the commitment and the sacrifice that you would have actually had gone through to get there.
Yeah.
Then you finally, your dream comes true. You're thinking to yourself, okay, they tell you that if you just stick with it, you work hard, you do all the things they tell you, you get your chance. There's my chance.
Taken away.
Taken away.
And what, because I remember you telling me this story earlier, what was the reason why that it didn't get processed?
Okay, so
This is going to be the...
So rightly or wrongly, to those that are watching this, and if you were involved, I do apologize, but Phil Ginsberg, the president of the Australian Ice Hockey Federation, told me that the reason why I was deemed ineligible was because although I had completed the forms approximately 3 years prior to, somebody had failed to lick a stamp and to mail it to the IIHF and only did so 6 months prior and required, I believe, 18 months to be eligible. So therefore, theoretically, it would be just under the wire to be eligible for the following year because of the time frame it took, provided that there were still problems with that. So somebody didn't lick the stamp and mail it, because at the time that's when it happened. Like that's how it was processed, by licking a stamp. Now we have electronic emails, at the time.
So I can like I'm just picturing it right now, like that moment of like hearing that news. You've gone through all that, the rehab, the judiciary, everything. Like what was that moment like when you got the news, and like how did you handle it?
So if I'm being honest with you, which I think is what I should do here, is that to say that I didn't shed a tear, I would be lying to you. Okay. And as much as my coach wanted me not to hold my emotions in, I cried silently in the food aisle. And then when I turned and walked to the table, because as you know, we all eat together, walked to the table.
They could have just seen it on your face.
They saw it on my face.
Away.
So I was, I mean, you got to remember, we're all team players, right? So I did not say anything. They asked me what was wrong, and I just did say, listen, fellas, I can't tell you. Let's just suffice to say is that something's happened to me. I'll be okay, but right now, the emotions are running really, really high.
Yeah.
So then we had a team meeting, and it was announced that I was deemed ineligible. And then, because we didn't have any goalies left, we had to put a player in there. So Davey Mann.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Davey Mann.
So how do they do that? Like, who is it? Drawing the short straw?
So-
is it a fourth liner? Like, what's the?
So here's the classic thing, right? So we're in the training room, we're in the meeting, and our coach says, "Does anybody have any goaltending experience?"
Oh, like,
So Davey
whole
Mann,
room went quiet.
Davey Mann says, "Look, I've played some summer league goaltending." He says, "Alan, what size?" And it just happened that Davey and I had the same size feet
I was going to ask that because, like, what do you do with skates? Like, did he just
But he
run his
didn't
own?
catch my hand. He
was
didn't
the other way
because
around.
I'm goofy. So he had to borrow.
That could be difficult.
He had to borrow from a local hockey team in South Africa. So you can imagine.
Brown leather pads. Brown leather, yeah.
No, that one's definitely had
Course,
hay in
yeah,
it.
yeah,
They definitely had hay in those ones. They had the hay version.
No, I had the cow catchers. Come on now. Yeah. So, anyways, he had to borrow another set of gloves, but he used it. We got pumped 23-2, and then as the story unfolds, that's when we reached out to Damien Holland, and God bless Damien for coming to the rescue. Damien, I am aware that you were paid handsomely to do so. So good on you for good on you for seizing the opportunity. It wasn't a hard decision. And Damien flew over, and he made it for the next game, and we played. Can I tell you that one of the things I would say that I learned from that experience is that you control the controllables. Do you understand? Remember that, gentlemen?
Yeah.
You control the controllables. There are things that you can't control, and maybe that's a lesson to all of you, especially if there's goaltenders there, that I could have easily went, I've had enough of this, and I've been
this
treated.
is a gong show. Like, how
That's
could they
right.
not do? How could they do this to me? It's a simple process. How did they mess this up? Blah blah blah. And
That's
you just
right.
sort of internalize all that anger.
Yep. Which leads me to, if I could, may I take it to the next story?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was involved in hockey and playing at the national level, as all do you do, like Brian and as yourself, you all do, you feel compelled to give back, right? So I noticed that goaltending wasn't being coached at a level where to be able to help the development. So I devised national camps. It was called Great Saves Australia. And God bless Skaters Network. I truly mean that. They got on board and they sponsored me. And then, of course, I went around and I delivered camps. And I started off locally, and then it branched off to going. So I was going to every state. I was going to Perth. I was going to Adelaide. I was going to Queensland. I was going all over. And then all of a sudden, then the market started to expand. I had to go to New Zealand. I went to Christchurch. I went to Auckland. And before you know it, I was doing all of these camps. I introduced video training.
Wow.
Because video training didn't exist. And we didn't have, in Canada, we had puck shooting machines. But we didn't have puck shooting machines here. Yeah. So God bless one of the parents in Western Australia. He created a washing machine, took a washing machine and used the technology from what he watched overseas, and he converted a puck shooting machine out of a washing machine.
No way.
Yes, I swear to God, without a word of a lie. And then, God bless Ansett Airlines, they will allow me to fly that thing. And I went around and I used this puck shooting machine built out of a washing machine, so that
What was that? What was it like checking that thing into the plane? Like,
Mate, I tell you, it was crazy.
It was looking like,
I just gave
they don't
up.
have laundry?
No,
Like,
I gave
washing
up.
machine?
I gave up explaining it to them, and I just said, "Look, just understand that this is a home-built tool that helps me teach ice hockey goalies how to play." So just imagine, gentlemen, if I could, you're not a goaltender, but you're used to maybe seeing 20, 30 pucks in a training session, maybe 50.
Yeah.
I delivered that to this puck shooting homemade machine. I delivered that in the first 15 minutes of their training session. Yeah. So I was able to, back then, be able to say, you would get in excess of 180 to 200 pucks in a 45-minute training session. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
Do you understand conceptually?
Yeah.
Just like rapid fire.
Rapid fire, and of course...
great.
And it was like faster than like
he-
a coach could shoot it. Like he couldn't consecutively
He had
shoot
this
fast.
sucker.
Like,
He had this sucker going
high.
We could shoot a puck. I think we got one of those guns. The fastest we could shoot was 98 miles per hour, not kilometers.
no.
98 miles per hour. So I never put it that high. So it was kind of like we had these like
150
we had these
kilometers.
bands. Like so, he would change the bands, like the belts.
Yeah.
So he put it on a medium belt, not the high belt. And I think it was something like 70.
so like the pucks would feed in and just, or you'd like one at a time
Yeah, you
just feed
scoop them
in.
all in and you
Yep.
load them in like a washing machine.
Yeah.
Right? Like
And then there's just
and it, like that.
That's so sick.
So anyways, why am I telling you that story? Well, I'm telling that story because...
Was it an under-13s camp? Like, were these kids
No,
like...
I did... I mean, obviously I had shooters, and then we had workstations, and I had video cameras back, we had the camcorders. Kind of like this, but I was a camcorder, bring them out on the ice. And we did stations. We had this washing machine that shot pucks. And then, of course, then I decided to do what you're doing now, which is to bring this information, knowledge to the consumer or to the actual young player. So I wrote newsletters.
Cool.
So if I could, that's why I'm bringing it. I want to read to you the highlight of the 1997-98 World Championship. If I could, gentlemen?
Yeah,
so I just take my glasses off because I'm going to read this. And it goes like this. Okay, so I want to talk about my fears, my triumphs, and the walls I personally climbed, but talk about my heroes, my teammates, as we all shared something that can never be taken away. We will carry this for the rest of our lives, the memory of doing it together, with each other, for one another. Okay? And it goes like this. I'm just going to go to the actual newsletter, and it goes right through, and we talk about like
your journey.
My journey.
Yeah.
So, World Championships, 1998, South Africa. So I'm going to say, it starts off by saying, if you recall the last letter, but anyway, so I'm going to move forward to this, and it says here, okay, this year's experience has it all. It starts in November 97 when I commenced dryland training 5 times a week. No, this is not a national team program yet. This is a general program to create the foundation. So, Brian, you guys have a structured program.
Yeah.
We didn't have that back then, right? It was just a generalized program.
Each to their own.
Each their own.
Yeah, make sure you're ready to go.
Honor system, right? So when I started the national team program, I was on par with the younger fellows. Training by yourself is difficult, especially when you have to work for a living. My wife handles the nutritional diet we receive from the national team, and you just get an idea of what it entails. I'm only allowed 200 grams of meat a day. No fat at all.
Wow.
And this starts before Christmas. To my young readers, that means no candy, chocolate, and to my older readers, this means no alcohol, none. The national team's official dryland training starts in January and starts off easy with 4 weeks into a 5-day training program, off ice, not on ice, off ice. Takes 2 hours to complete and includes running. By mid-February, we're doing plyometrics. So those that understand plyometrics, it's about establishing, muscles and recoiling and strength.
Fast twitch motion.
Exactly. You know the deal, Brian. So then by mid-February, doing the plyometric, which basically means you're jumping high and as quick as you can until you can do it no more. So we went to exhaustion.
Oh, wow. So you went high reps.
Well, high reps. So I usually was vomiting after these sessions, okay? So we would then go to running hills. So if anybody knows the Cronulla Hills,
oh yeah,
we would run the hills. So we would do sprints up the hills. On the 3rd set of 5, I fell to my knees and I vomited. One of my training buddies came over to me, whispered to my ear and said, "Alan, pain is a sensation. It will go away. Once you're done vomiting, if you could get up and finish your set, that would be great."
Now
Okay?
that's a training partner.
That's a training partner.
That's a training partner. That's what you need.
So then we go to on-ice training and started. It just takes it even harder. So 10 weeks of dryland training program is completed, feeling tired, nervous, and I'd lost 6 kilos in the process. Training camp, Slani, Czech Republic. Traveling for over 24 hours, going through different time zone, takes it out of you. But why? I pay $2,000 to do this, right?
Yeah.
Question mark. Slani is a small town, 30 kilometers outside of Prague. You can walk the entire town in one afternoon. Our room consists of 2 beds, 1 closet, and a bathroom with the toilet. The showers don't work, and they have cold water. Therefore, everybody showers in the dressing room. No television, no radio, and no English. Have I got you excited yet? Yeah. Oh, yes. And the building is a sporting complex with the ice rink inside. So we walk past the ice rink surface every morning, noon, and evening on the way to our dining area for meals. We drink water, coffee, or tea. That's all. We buy our own juice and soft drink because our sports performance supplements we are all taking. We are strongly discouraged for drinking anything other than water as it reduces the implement of that. Training sessions are very high tempo and physically demanding, especially when you have 3 90-minute sessions a day.
3 90-minute sessions.
3 a day. 10 days, 3 sessions, 90 minutes per session.
You really get a bang for your buck in check. I tell you, you get some big ice time.
Seriously.
Getting through a 10-day training camp at this intensity is an obstacle for everyone, including myself. Just to give you an idea of the level we're playing at, our first exhibition game is against a Division II team, which we found out had 4 Division I Czech Republic players. So if you understand Prague, Sparta, 4 Sparta Division I players were playing on this team.
Extra league players.
I had 67 shots on goal. We lost 12-2. I played well considering the quality of shots and the shooters that I faced. Getting up at 7 a.m. the next morning for practice the next day was very hard, especially knowing that you were going to be facing another 1 to 2 ice sessions that day. Having made our way through camp, tired and exhausted, losing our second game 10-1 against a Division III team, we have one of our daily team meetings with our coaching staff. Kelly Loverings, our coach, expresses his concerns, as only Kelly can, about who's going to pick up their game. We're lacking leaders, and it's only through the brotherhood. Right, guys? You understand that brotherhood? That we can get through this. The brotherhood means understanding that your teammate can do no wrong, and each person will do everything and anything to help the team. To say this was a motivational meeting would be an understatement. My eyes swell. Sorry.
No, take your time.
My eyes swell just thinking about it. I'm right back there, guys. Sorry. I believe that this was a defining moment because we as a team put all our energy into believing in each other, trusting each other, and truly caring for one another, to which I've never felt before. I went into that meeting and I called myself Alan Becken, tired individually. I left that meeting motivated and part of Australian Brotherhood, to which only 25 exclusive members were allowed. The Brotherhood continued to build as the camp went on, during which time our camaraderie developed during karaoke night, where 4 groups were given the freedom to sing and interpret any music we wanted. I can't tell you the specifics, but it was filled with costume props and only limited by your imagination, more specifically the players. Can I ask you, I'm going to continue my story, but can I ask you on a side note? You want to bring on Paul Schumack and ask him to talk about the GIMP. That is something that I cannot articulate, but Paul Schumack must come on. Paul, I put...
You got to jump on.
Paul, you got to come on. You got to tell them about the GIMP, but I'm not gonna steal
Paul
your thunder.
Schumack, yes,
Okay?
yes, friend of the pod. Yeah,
We end
no
the
doubt.
camp with our first win in Czech, 6-2 against the local team, just in time for our quest for gold.
Nice.
Now we're in Pretoria, South Africa. Our flight was 8 hours, but feeling good about our chances, arrived excited to commence our quest. Little did we know we were about to meet our biggest challenge yet, specifically 2,600 feet above sea level. To those that have ever been there and understand that, oxygen is extremely difficult. The best way to describe this skating, the length of the ice, and feeling the same way you do when you're out of air, is swimming underwater and desperate to get back that air. Our medical team had us on massive amounts of iron and vitamin supplements weeks before to increase our blood cell level so our blood could carry the little oxygen that we were getting, but we were still fighting it. Our medical staff hired oxygen tanks to have on our bench so that we could actually put oxygen into our bodies in between shifts. Every whistle you would take, your mask would get off, and you would try to... I would just be sucking air after every shift to get more air into my lungs. After each period, you did want to go into the dressing room because of the feeling of being oxygen restricted in a small, confined space. The game one was a 14-1 win over Turkey. Time to beat up a Kiwi.
Yeah.
I knew we were about to go into a medal after watching our team beat New Zealand 12-1, not because of the score, but because that they had less than 10 shots on goal and we had 60. We completely dominated in every area of the rink, and if not for the New Zealand goaltender's big game, I'm sure the score would have been a lot worse. Next up, Bulgaria. The winner places first overall in the pool and will face second place team pool. I know you understand about the crossing over the pools. This game had it all: penalties, penalty killing internationally, power plays to which we got overtime. The best is yet, unfortunately, we lost 5-2 in overtime. Okay? Medal round, placing second in our pool. We cross over first place Israel from the pool. Milan, no, how do we pronounce it? Novosedlac got the nod. I didn't. And for the first time in my international career, two goalies said to each other, neither cared. We said to each other, neither cared who was playing, we just want to win gold. I know we can say that, but if you understand, if you truly mean that, you look somebody in the eyes and go, I don't care. I just want to win gold. I hope that if you're watching this, you understand the sincerity in my eyes. If you are a goaltender, you have to be that you're not the one. It's the team. The team first and foremost. So he gets the nod. He plays against Israel. We dominate the game from start to finish. We win 6-3. I don't think Israel ever saw us coming. Gold medal match. Talk about nervous. Didn't sleep well, tossed and turned, constantly thinking that this is the position I've been waiting for all my life. Yeah. All my life. I don't want to disappoint you, but unfortunately we lost 6-1. We played well, and although it hurt more than words can say, Bulgaria beat Israel in the final game, giving us the silver medal. In that game, we lost because in the first period, unfortunately, and Brian, I know you know this, if you put yourself before the team and then you take penalties, we played 5-on-3 for the first 11 minutes of the game. So I faced 5-on-3 for the first 11 minutes, so if you can appreciate...
Just getting peppered the whole time.
Getting peppered, oxygen, starved, the difficulty of trying to acclimatize to 2,600 feet. I'm not making excuses. We lost.
That's a tough spot to be in.
It's a tough spot. I only let in 3 in the first. We managed to get through. I did win the man of the match, but that's no solace for losing. But we did win silver. So why am I telling you that story? So if you recall, we talked about the heartbreak of being in that line, and I could have easily, as you said, Brian, I could have went, yeah, this is a gong show, but I didn't. I fought through it, and I came back. Went from the lows of lows to the highs of highs. So anybody that's watching this, all I can say to you is that I want to read out, if I could, if I may. I experienced the lows of lows to the highs of highs within an 8-hour period, and I hope and pray that you all have this opportunity, because when the IIHF representative puts that silver medal around my neck, the tears poured from my eyes uncontrollably. I'm not ashamed to say I cried. And you can see I'm emotional now. I'm right back there. I cried because this article only touches the surface of what our team, and I need to emphasize the word team, went through to achieve this medal and the path we chose to get there. It's not the medal, ladies and gentlemen. It's the journey. So I will never forget this moment for as long as I live, and my heroes will live in my memory for eternity. And they are Brad Adrelon, Rad Benicki, Pavel Bofacek, Jamie Chivers, Carl DiPiazza, Glenn Fool, Alan Harper, Lang Harrell, Mike Harrell, Phil Hara, Miroslav Klima, Kelly Lovering, Tyler Lovering, Sean Muller, Milan, Greg Audie, Novoselec, Greg Audie, John Audie, Greg Park, Paul Schumack, Robert Spolenka, Sean Thompson, Arlen Tomlinson, Marie Wand, Anthony Wilson, John Wilson. That's my take, and that's what I shared to the goaltenders at the time, because I felt it was important that I could take them on a journey with me, as I've done hopefully with you guys today, about what it truly means to not only represent your country, but to understand that a team and a brotherhood is something that you will never forget. It will last an eternity. As you can clearly see, even when I talk about it, some 20 years, it's still, it really affects me. And I'll never forget the guys that I played with on that team, because I am the person I am, in part, because of that experience.
That was beautiful.
That's amazing. That, like, what a journey. I can tell you, when I played youth, we never ran sandhills. That sounds absolutely grueling.
Yeah, like I think the like sacrificing a little bit of part of yourself for this goal that you all are looking towards, and you all have that same passion. It's I've been part of teams like that as well, where you see the guy on either side of you is willing to pay the price just as much as you, and there's this weird intangible feeling that you feel within the locker room when everyone elevates their game to another level because they are willing to give everything and more for the greater good of the team. And I think that is perfectly demonstrated there, because you've gone through the whole journey of being selected, not being able to play, coming back from an injury as well, then going through that grueling training camp, which I never did 3 a days on the national team. It was 2 a days max, and then going into a country that's high elevation, almost zero oxygen. When you go through that whole sort of process, there's a part of, like, you all sort of take a little bit of each guy with you forever. And I think that's the beautiful part of ice hockey in general, is because it is so physically demanding and mentally demanding as well. When you are part of a team that is willing to sacrifice that part of themselves for the greater good, there's like this weird, beautiful bond that's created, and it's so compact as well, because the training camp is, I'm guessing it was like a week and a half. 10 days. 10 days, yeah. So 10 days.
3 times a day, 10 days.
Yeah, and you just like you just blood, sweat, and tears for the boys and everyone in the organization. So that's beautiful, man. And the fact that you still get all like teary-eyed about those moments, it speaks a lot about how beautiful this game is.
Yep, it's a beautiful game. It's a lifestyle. Yeah. It's a wanting to be part of something that not only well, at the time you don't know it's going to mold you, right? You don't know it's going to mold you, because to maybe the young kids that are watching, whether you make the national team, whether you play, whatever you play, never underestimate the fact that this is life skills, right? It's life skills. Like Brian, you said, the difficulty and the challenges you overcome. I mean, life's going to throw some serious curveballs your way, and you've got to learn to be able to overcome those. And, Jamie Chivers, as an example, putting your equipment on 3 times a day, if you've ever imagined, it's like your equipment doesn't dry. No. Right? So as a result of that, he developed a secondary infection on his shins, from his actual shin guards, because he had a cut. Yeah. They had a cut, and then they got infected because of the continued saturation, and he missed 5 days of the training camp. Right? Other guys got hit and broke bones. Yeah. Right? They broke bones and they played. They went on and they played. So adversity and challenge and pushing yourself. Like that guy said to me, my training partner, when he said, pain is just a sensation. Think about that for a second. Yeah. It is just a sensation. You get up, and then not only did I finish the set, I went on and finished my 45-minute training session after that, including the plyometrics, after woofing my cookies. Yeah.
That mindset is really what can take you to the next level, right? Yeah. And when everyone's on that same mindset, everyone just gets elevated from it. But that's amazing.
Speaking of the next level, Al, it's like, you've had so many different phases through your career of, progression and moving to different places, different teams. So is there some things that you credit to your ability to keep progressing, keep getting better? Like, is there some methodology that you would, you could give tips for, up and coming goalies of what they can focus on? Or like a message of training, or pretty much what's the keys to success, Al?
Wow. Okay. I don't know if it's necessarily the key to success, but I'm going to tell you what I've adopted. Okay, it's the first and foremost thing that I've adopted throughout my playing career is change or die. Okay, And you might think, oh, well, that's an easy statement to put, but let me explain something to you. If you were to rank things in people's lives, change is one of the scariest things that people face, right? So imagine, if you will, and I don't wish to outdate myself, but when I was taught how to play goaltending, or to be a goalie, stand-up was the thing. And then to butterfly, now you've got the lateral movement, the RVHs, and all the rest of that. If you're not willing to change and adjust your game to what's actually trending and the way the game is going, you're going to be left behind. So you must be willing to change. The second thing is, if you think you've learned everything, you have. If you think you know it all, you have. I hope this is making sense to you, because if you don't adopt, I guess, a mental attitude that you can always learn, and it doesn't matter who you learn from. You might not like the person, but it doesn't mean you can't learn from that person. That you have to adopt that mentality. And then I guess the last thing is, can I just say to you, if you ever read a book, it's called 10,000 Hours. And the book describes everything from the Beatles right through to, there are certain, let's just say, subpopulations around the world that have less diseases and have less issues with cancers and so on and so forth. But what they've done is they've devoted 10,000 hours to whatever it is. If it's 10,000 hours to your health, or your health and well-being, or if it's 10,000 hours as the Beatles did in terms of playing, or if it's 10,000 hours devoted to shooting the puck, or whatever the case may be, the 10,000 hour rule applies. If you think about how long it takes to put 10,000 hours in to be able to perfect your craft, then that would be the third thing, is that understand the significance of 10,000 hours. You must train, but don't train the wrong way. Train the right way. How about this? And I'll finish with that. You asked me, how did I, continue my career? And I changed. I changed my style. 10 years ago, I had a lot of injuries, okay? And my body was starting to fail. And God bless, my doctor put me on through to a sports physiotherapist. And I can't remember her name. She said to me, Alan, you're getting a little bit long in the tooth if you're going to continue to play this game. You need to change. I said, how so? She said, you need to be thinking about what you need to do in terms of changing your equipment, changing your style, and also what you do off the ice. So there's a thing called, and you probably all know this, is called prehab. So 7 years ago, I learned the significance of prehab. So now, 4 days a week, I do prehab exercises for my ankles, my knees, my hips, my shoulders, and my elbows. And it's a series of exercises that have nothing to do with weights, but they have everything to do with controlling the muscles and controlling the proprioception of those muscles, and then modifying more knee protection, taking my knees away from the ice. These are the little things that you do to modify, but you got to put in the hours. You got to train. You got to work hard. I train 5 days a week. I train 5 days a week. Maybe not the same training or at the level that you do, Brian, because Brian, that you're a little bit younger and
a little bit, different. Yeah,
it's different. But I still train so that I can. Well, I think, guys, I still am competing. Maybe in my own mind.
He's still on the East Coast, still playing to this day. So that's a testament to the work that you put in away from the rink, because all that time, and that consistency as well, the dedication, it adds up, and it really shows, because I can't name another goalie at your age competing at a high level.
Thank you.
Doing it consistently. It's a testament to all the hard work that you put in. And I know that you're very strict with your diet as well.
Yes.
That's obviously played a factor in terms of your longevity.
Yeah.
Did that come in a little bit later in your career, or have you always been pretty consistent with the nutrition side of things?
Okay, so nutrition is a very interesting thing, because we all think, and I'm going to be honest, we all think that, well, if we just work hard, we can out-exercise a bad diet, right? Let's be honest, right? And about 6 years ago, in line with the injuries that were happening, I have sluggish, I was overweight, my God, I was 94 kilos. Wow. And I discovered an incredible program, which I'm currently wearing now. It's called Weight Loss Coaching Works. It is no gimmicks, no shakes, no nothing. It's about understanding food. It's about understanding that walking, of all things, can help you lose weight. So I learned about menu plans. I learned about what carbs versus protein versus trans fats versus monosaturated fats, and how that plays a role. Things like that you would never think about, like once you go onto a program, you understand about modifying carbs, how brain fog is gone. When you start to lose weight, this starts to realize that you can do more than you thought you could do before. Once this starts to believe that you can do things, then the body follows. I lost 18, 19 kilos. Wow. And I've kept it off, and I continue to follow that program. That has played an instrumental role, because if you change the way you think, then you change the way you act. If you change the way you act, you change your results. Another thing is that the mind, and again, whether it's nutrition or whether it's performance or whatever it is, I'm going to say some things to you that are basically science-based. 70% of the things we say to ourselves are not very nice. And in fact, if I was to challenge you, if you were to tell yourself the things you do every day, would you tell that to your friends and loved ones? I don't think so. So if you understand, and we can appreciate that 70% of the things you say are bad, there's this loop. Brian and I, we talked about this loop. So whether it's nutrition, whether it's your performance, or whether it's just being a good person or a bad person, your intention is to do something good, nutritionally, performance-wise. Then you judge yourself, and then you say it's terrible, and then you loop back. Then you're positive, you're negatively reinforcing that. You need to learn that you need to stop that, and you need to say, okay, this time I'm going to do it this way. And you need to say it that way. Stop saying, oh, that was crap, geez, that was terrible, because you go from 100% commitment to the next loop to 80%. And as you continue, it goes worse and worse. And then that really affects your psyche. And again, I go back to nutrition, sports, whatever the case may be. So if you understand the power of the mind, you understand that cycle, then you need to understand that if you can't be positive, right? Put something between your ears that is positive, audio, podcast, like this. Maybe play this. If you are negative, play this section that I'm talking to you about. And I need you to understand one more thing that's science-based. If you listen to something once, right, you'll retain 5 to 10% of it. If you listen to something 6 times, I repeat, 6 times in a confined period of maybe, say, 6 months, not only will you retain 60 to 70% of that information, but you will practically apply it in a daily conversation, at least 10%. Now, I'm going to go to, if I may, just to the young goaltenders and to those that are coaching goaltenders. If you understand the psyche of a goaltender, players make mistakes, they rely on other players. Goalie makes mistake. What happens? Oh my God, the crowd cheers, and they put it on the scoreboard for everybody to celebrate. Look at what the goaltender did. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Right. So to coaches that are out there, be positive, be encouraging. Why? Because the world is full of critics. Create an environment of encouragement. Whether it's players, coaches, whatever, we all need to establish an encouraging environment. 2, if you can be positive, be positive. Remember, positive, the loop is going to help your players. It's going to, whether it's at national team level, whether it's just at grassroots level, that's just as significant. My God, we're all built the same way. Yeah. I know that if I turned to all of you and said, respect is something that men die for, and acknowledgement is what babies cry for. Right?
Yep. 100%.
Right?
100%.
So think about what you need to do. And if you can't put something in your mind positive, listen to it 6 or 7 times. And that is, again, nutrition. Please be conscious about nutrition. Follow a menu plan. And I'm not going to make a plug, but anybody that is looking to actually lose weight, to get healthy, please do so, because I'll tell you what, I credit my nutritional regime now to my ongoing playing, Brian, John, to the fact where I really believe that the reason why I continue to play, and again, I'm being a little bit cheeky, but I'm hoping that those that are watching that may be playing at East Coast, I hope I'm still competitive when I'm playing you, because in my mind I feel I'm competitive.
Yeah.
But I'm competitive because, we talked about 1%ers.
Yeah.
These are those maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 5%ers that you can all do. You can pay attention to nutrition.
Yep.
You can pay attention to being encouraging and positive to the person that you're actually influencing, parents, children, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of key learnings. Life, our sport is a bunch of life lessons.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop. I feel like I'm...
No, that was really great. We need to know it. And then, so if you had some tips for like a parent of a goaltender, coming through, whether it be, younger or on their way through, what's the best way for parents to really, because I went through my hockey career of my parents just totally, Australian, they were never really into hockey, but then I started playing. So I just kind of went through the leagues and had some extracurricular coaching. But as a goaltender, you are really kind of relying on having specialized goalie training at certain points of kind of all the way through, really, from what I'm gathering. So what's a good tip for parents, or how can they kind of be,
create an environment.
Yeah, exactly, to succeed as a goaltender?
Okay, so I'm going to give a tip for goaltending, but I think it also can apply to players as well. Okay, there's an old saying that was taught to me at a very young age, and it goes like this: players play, coaches coach, refs ref. If you're a player, don't try to be a coach. Understand your role, you play. If you're a coach, don't try to be a player, coach. And if you're a ref and you're a player, don't try to be a ref. Okay, don't try to actually challenge a ref.
That's the worst of all.
So players play, coaches coach, refs rep. To parents that are actually coaching, or to have children that are playing hockey or goaltending for that matter, I would say this to you: if your coach is maybe not incorporating goaltending instruction, it's not because they don't think that you're not worthy of it. Sometimes they don't actually have the courage to try to actually help you because they're scared that they don't know enough about goaltending, and as a result of that, they're probably apprehensive. So there's nothing wrong with the goalie turning around and going to the coach and saying, "Coach, this is what I think I'm doing wrong. What do you think? Is there something that we could do in next training session that might be able to help me?" Connect with your coach, right?
Yeah.
2, please, parents, as much as I'd love to sit here and say that your son or daughter is going to play in the NHL or is going to play in pro, the reality is it might not necessarily happen. So understand that the game is meant to be played. Have fun. Let your son or daughter have fun. And most importantly, be there. Meet them where they're at. Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Meet your child where they're at. They might not necessarily have the maturity to be able to deal with. Look at me. Yeah. I told you about a story that I punched a guy, through the net. You would think that I was a grown man, that I would be able to have the maturity, but I didn't. Be understanding and be responsible enough to understand to meet your children where they're at. Have fun, play the game, and at the end of that game, be encouraging, because the world is full of critics. That would be my tips.
Yeah, awesome. That's brilliant. So, how many good old cups have you got underneath the belt? Because I was looking through it and I just kept seeing them popping up. It's
good old cups. So let's just take 5 seconds of latitude. Good old cups now represent the AIHL.
Yeah, but
so we're talking Super League, yeah.
So Super League.
But even before that, it was a state tournament.
It was a state tournament.
Is that where we came from?
Yes.
That's what it was. It was
Yes,
a
it
state
was.
tournament. Yeah.
So I have won. I've lost count, but I would say that I've won probably over If I included AIHL part of that,
Yeah.
because I won 4 AIHL championships, so I got 4 there.
Not a big deal.
I think probably about maybe 20.
Nice.
Let me tell you a story about a good old cup. One good old cup, we went to Perth. We were so strong in comparison to the other teams. This is no word of a lie, that our coach made us as goaltenders change on the fly in the gold medal match with the lines because we were so dominant. So Mick Hayward was the other. No, swear to God.
I've never heard or seen that.
Swear to God.
That's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
Yes, absolutely. So Mick Hayward was the other goalie with me. We were in Perth, gold medal match. Can't remember the coach. He said, we're going to play the first period, but you guys are going to change on the fly just like the players do. So you guys are on the ice. You better make damn sure that when you're going to change, you better make damn sure you've got control.
You make sure that puck goes in real deep.
Because the goalies, or you're going to control it, and you're going to control the changing of your lines so that your goalie can get off.
Incredible.
We did that for the first period and a half, and then, with the utmost respect, we became exhausted. Us goalies became exhausted from changing on the fly. We won 18-2.
Were the two the empty netters
Yes.
in between you?
Yes, empty netters.
That's ridiculous.
Oh my God. So who gets the goal against if you're in the change? Who gets the goal against?
Do you know what? To be absolutely honest with you, I don't even...
The 50-50
It's,
coin flip?
I don't even remember. I just remember going to Mick Hayward and I think it was Paul Schumack and it was Carl DiPiazza and a couple others, and we were all there, and we just went, was that a good old cup?
Yeah. Yeah, was that even, was this just like a pickup game?
Yeah, it felt like a pickup game. I mean, we had Tyler Lover. We had like, it was a powerhouse state team.
So was that usually the case? Like New South and Vic were the two more dominant teams?
Okay, so if we're going to go good old cup, there was basically...
One
Look,
and a
I
half.
want to say WA. God bless you guys, but back in my day, the two strong states was obviously South Australia, Adelaide, because you had Eric Leam in goal, and what a fiery goaltender he was,
Really?
right? Wow, fiery goaltender.
That's a nice way of
Came
putting
over
it.
from goaltend. Came over from Canada, and he and I, lovely man, and we get along like a house on fire. But at the time, we didn't see eye to eye.
Oh, no, yeah.
You know how you skate around in warm-ups?
Did you
right?
guys ever meet at halfway
Oh, yeah.
and just throw
Did
your
a few
hands? You did?
flybys.
Oh yeah, a few flybys and
Yeah.
you know a few exchanging of words and
A few mother effers.
yeah,
and
mother
some
effers and
this, yeah.
and also then you had, and then of course the 1-2 was Bruce Poling. Now Bruce Poling was another very fiery goaltender, and when I say fiery, he used his stick.
Ooh.
Right, and I'm not talking
So
about
if you're like in front of the net, you're gonna get chopped. In
no,
the
no,
back.
not chopped in the shins. I'm talking if your legs are apart.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's
One of-
one of the privileges.
One of those guys.
Yeah, and then of course, and then in the latter stages, then it became when it came into the AIHL, Newcastle North Stars were really, really, I guess, our fierce components. When it gets sort of closer to where good old cups now are being played as part of the AIHL and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, Newcastle North Stars were the teams, and you know they had incredible imports
Yeah.
that came over and incredible import goalies, and you know that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But you know, I would say there was time when Victoria also
Yeah.
had some strong, but predominantly was South Australia and then Newcastle.
Okay. And how was that transition when it went from a state tournament to the Super League first?
Yeah.
How was that transition? Was it not that much different? Was it?
Oh
essentially
God,
the
it's
same?
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about in the Super League. You had Canterbury in there, and you had the Narrabeen Bombers in there, right?
Yeah.
And you know, you had that old mentality of skating around, meeting at half ice, and you know, and
Being intimidating. And
intimidating
all that sort of
and you know, taking pucks, you know, like I remember, you know, playing for Canterbury, and they took Narrabeen took all of our pucks.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, that sort of
And
gamesmanship.
they said, come over and take them from us, you know.
Ooh.
rivalry.
You had Joey Delisle, and you had the little
Yeah.
general, and you had the guys that could throw them, like, they could throw them, and,
What was the sponsorship level like back then in the Super League? Like, so for travel, everything like that, was it all sorted, or?
So when we transitioned, like, from the Canterbury, and then we started to expand into that kind of, travel per se, we didn't have a lot of money, and the league was being sort of nationalized. Can I say that?
Right, yeah.
Being nationalized, and we needed to go out and get some money. Anyways, long story short, the Australian Ice Hockey Federation, Don Rurak became involved, and to those that know, Don was somebody who was heavily involved in grassroots, but also national development. And then Rick Williams, you're watching this, God bless you, mate. You're an absolute staple in ice hockey in its development, both grassroots and to the national. We got on and we jumped on planes. Yeah. And we flew around and we presented to Ansett Airlines and to Canadian Airlines and to Qantas, and we would pitch to them, and I would be doing the pitching, even though I was playing, and it's like, this is the game, and this is what we can actually do. And God bless Don, he'd have it written up little documents, and we'd be reading them out to them, trying to get sponsorship. And we managed to get Ansett on board. We managed to get Canadian Airlines. There was no television. There was none of that, right? And VIP, God bless you for sponsoring VIP, for sponsoring us and getting involved. And then we got local places like the Macquarie one up on Waterloo Road. I think you still go to the Ranch.
The
Ranch came on board, and they were giving us some sponsorship. VIP in Adelaide with sponsors, and then all of a sudden money started to come in, Brian Shaw, and then all of a sudden the game started to get on radio. I mean, my God, I remember driving my partner at the time. We drove a V-dub, and we would be on the radio, and then we would hear a game being advertised. We're like, oh my God.
Saved by Becken.
No, it wasn't that. It was not even, none of that. It was just like, come down to the Narrabeen ice rink to watch that Canterbury versus. And then you would like, oh my God,
we made it.
We made it.
We made it. That's it.
We've made it. And then the Narrabeen, I mean, I think you'd be lucky to get 1,000 people in that rink, and you'd have 500 people, and they'd be throwing crap on the ice and stuff like that. And,
like teddy bear type.
Well,
no, beer cans.
Beer, for sure, Huff. Yeah. Well, I remember a Tui's ad that had the Bears and the Bombers in it.
Yes. That was amazing.
Were you part of that one? How was that?
No, I came at the latter stages of that. I was playing in that, but the Tui's ads had already
come. It's on YouTube. You got to find it. Plug it in. It's and we got to recreate it sometime. Have there been any other wars that you've seen that were like, oh man, that it was a battle to go across, like a particular player or a particular team within like the Super League or the AIHL days?
There's so many battles, but can I take you to Canada?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So
the Wild West.
I'm playing Tier 2. I've just gone, remember I told you that I went around with Sue Kate Smith playing a different one. Anyways, I was playing for, goodness gracious, it was Selkirk. No, beg your pardon. St. James Canadians, Tier 2 Junior, Manitoba Junior Hockey League. Went to Portage, just finished coming away from Portage to Prairie. Anyways, playing in Portage. Let's just say that, unfortunately, there are a lot of things I'm not proud of.
Yeah.
And this is one of those the moments that I'm not proud of. Yeah. And that I thought I was all that in a package of chips, Brian. Anyways, long story short, the goal...
You were feeling yourself at that time?
I'm feeling myself, right?
Yeah.
I'm playing Portage, and I'm thinking I'm all that. And I'm making some saves. And of course, I'm taunting.
Oh, okay.
I'm taunting the guys.
Yeah. So that's the worst. When you got a goalie chirping you as he glove saves you, it's like, oh.
So then the goalie down for Portage, who was my backup at the time when I left. Anyways, he's trying to make his mark. Anyways, let's just say that he took exception to my comments. Okay. And then I turn around and I just, I'd skate to the blue line and go, well, what are you going to do about it? And then he'd be yipping, right? And of course, and again, let's just say that if you put your stick between your legs and then you hold your stick out from your legs, you know that you're creating a bit of a phallic explanation.
Yeah.
So of course he took exception to that, and so did the team. Anyways, unfortunately, all-out brawl happens, right? So
Bench clearer.
bench clear.
Full
So
on
the
bench
goalie's
clearer.
coming down. I'm standing there, but the whole line comes after me. The whole bench comes off, right? So I got about 28 guys all skating towards
Just
me.
beelining it
And we
straight to you.
That's beelining towards me. So then you've got my 5 guys. Then my bench clears. So then they'll push me into the corner, right? Now, so if that's not bad enough, right? So you've got a brawl going on. I'm closest to the boards because the guys didn't want me to get hurt or get in because they didn't want me to get ejected because they wanted me to keep playing.
Yeah.
So of course I'm baking. I'm continuing baking. So then you got to remember you got about 5,000 people watching the game, and the boards are low.
Yeah.
So now you got fans they got me by the sleeve and they're punching me.
No
Yeah,
way.
they're punching me on the top of the head. So what happens? Then you got a section, right, of the St. James Canadians. So now those fans come running over into the section. So now you got a brawl in the stands. And then here's the crescendo. So you know how the GMs of the clubs, so they're up at the platform. So you got a 70-year-old St. James Canadian GM running down to the Portage de la Prairie GM. Both of them are in their 70s, and they're going toe to toe in suits. I swear on my mother's life.
That is amazing.
I'm looking up. Some guy's punching me in the head from a fan. The fan's getting it, and in the distance, I'm looking there, and there's 2 70-year-old GMs going toe-to-toe in 3-piece suits, and with the technique of holding each other.
They're just jersey.
And they're jersey, and they're going.
Oh my God.
Not my proudest moment, but can I just say to you, you asked me about a complete and utter chaos.
Yeah, a shit show of a game.
A shit show of a game. That's a shit show of a game. But obstacles in here in Australia, oh God, yes. I mean, there's so many, not at that level. And because I was a bit of a goose back then.
Yeah.
But here in Australia, I would say that, okay. All right.
Yeah, give me one.
So we're playing Macquarie.
So Super League.
Super League days, I'm playing Canterbury. And I'm just getting peppered. And I've had enough.
Yeah.
So I put my backup goalie in. So 'cause remember, I'm the coach.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm coaching. So what do I do?
I can't imagine that. Just it's hard enough to hit a goalie anyway.
Yeah.
And you are calling the plays like yeah.
Swear to God. I'm on the bench and I show that I'm coaching. And suffice to say, one of the players skates by, and I grab his jersey.
Yeah.
Okay, and I close hanger him. You know? So, as you can imagine,
This is just
the
the
Bears.
competitor in you coming out. That's
It is, right? You know, I'm not proud of it, guys,
Yeah.
but, you know, I close hanger the guy, and he takes exception. So then, of course, one of the guys turns around and he challenges me. And of course, now I'm the coach, so I can't get on the ice. So one of our Kiwi guys that are on the ice, and you got to remember, right, that God bless their cotton socks, their heart and their passion, but can't stand, can't skate.
Yeah.
So he goes toe to toe with this guy and pulverizes the guy, pulverizes him, and I'm sitting there going, I caused that. So not as shall we say, as large as the last story back in Canada. But again, something I'm not proud of because the poor Kiwi guy, he took a couple of shots that he didn't need to take, all because I close hangered a guy because I couldn't control my emotions. But I'm sure, Brian, that we all might have similar
We've had our
stories.
own little moments.
We've had our moments.
I actually feel good hearing this, Alan, because, you know, I remember playing East Coast against you and hearing that you've instigated so many occasions. I feel less bad about the time it was a heated game and I came in to fake swing my stick at your face and I actually hit you straight in the face mask and got penalty.
I wasn't about to bring that up.
So, you know, there it is.
I didn't know this.
Felt bad for a lot of years.
Yeah.
I feel like we're both a little bit of an instigator sometimes, so that's wonderful.
Can I just say, in seriousness though, right? We all have done things, I'm sure, in our past that we're not particularly proud of. But I think it's really important that this message gets across is that when you get off the ice, whether it's hockey, whether it's business, whatever it is, once it's there on the ice, it stays on the ice.
You got to leave it.
You got to leave it on the ice because at the end of the day, we're not perfect. We're not human. And maybe I'll just give you a little bit of a I guess, my recent mentor or my mantra that is that one day I hope to be a perfect human being, because right now I'm a fundamentally flawed man.
Yeah.
But one day, I hope to be a perfect man, at least before I die. That's my goal. And one day I get a little bit better. But we all make mistakes, and we do it in the heat of the moment. Yeah. But it's not personal.
No.
Yeah.
It's not personal. At the time, we think it's personal, but it's because we've been exposed in some way, shape, or form, where we found ourselves vulnerable. Vulnerable to the fact that we're being beaten, or vulnerable we've been embarrassed, or vulnerable because
you've been challenged.
Or our ego's been hurt. And I want to go back to that story that I told you about the brotherhood, right? It's when you come to understand the true meaning of the brotherhood. Yeah. When you take penalties, when you do all the shitty, pardon my language, all the bad things that we've done, that's because we put ourselves first. We didn't put the brotherhood first, right? And that maybe is a silver lining learning from our little bit jokes here, that we all get caught up in our own personal feelings of being hurt, our ego hurt, whatever the case may be. But if you put yourselves before your team, that's really where you got to take notice.
Yeah. Wait, hold on, one more. Did you, with that, the AIHL winning teams, is that sort of like that carried through with those as well? Like when you saw the difference between the winning and the non-cup winning teams?
Can I tell you so this is going to be corny, but this is the honest to God truth. So I'm playing for the Bears, and it's the championship that we're going to win. We win. And I'm playing with two imports from Finland. And I just loved them to pieces. And one of them was the goaltender. I didn't get the start for the final. I got the semi, we won, but I didn't get the final. And he's playing. And his brother, because they're twins.
Gotcha.
And we're down by one goal, and there's only 4 minutes to go. Okay? He comes over to me, and he says, Alan, we're down by a goal. I said, I know, mate, I know. I said, but you just got to believe. And then I said to him, I looked him in the eye, and I know you guys know this, right? When you look somebody on your team, you look them in the eye, and you just go, I believe in you.
Yeah.
You know that feeling when it doesn't matter what that scoreboard, because that's just now. That's not 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 hours from now. That's just now.
Yeah.
When you look at them, you go, I believe in you. I know.
You can get it done.
We can get it done. You know that feeling. You know. And to you that are watching, you know that feeling. He said, I believe. Wow. As corny as that is.
Yeah.
But when you look at somebody's eyes and you give off that aura. You know that aura?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. It's just that when someone stumbled down, you just pick them up, dust them off, and go, look, mate, keep on going, because you can get it done.
He scored 2 goals.
No way.
He scored the tie, and he scored the winner.
No way.
He did. I swear to God, and he scored it in the last minute.
That's unreal.
All right, now we got to round it up. We got to wrap this up. But one thing I want to ask is about gear. Okay.
Yes.
With the fast pace that gear is changing all the time, what have you found gear-wise has taken your game up a level, or made you kind of change the way that you play to align with it?
Okay. I'm going to try to be as...
In the last 10 years.
I'm going to try to be succinct as I can, because, goaltenders, because you got to understand, we are...
Special breed.
A little bit of a special breed. And have you ever heard of the term goalie porn?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so goalie porn is when goalies get a hold of magazines or they look at equipment and they just go through for hours and hours. Okay, and we love to put colors together and buckles here and piece of equipment there and stuff like that. And I am unfortunately one of those persons that you shouldn't be asking that question because I can sit and talk to you about UAV foam, and I mean I can even talk to you about the sweatband that I told. I bored Brian for 30 minutes about a recent sweatband that Bauer's come out to that really does play a significant role in those 1%ers. But all right, your question was equipment change. Okay, goaltending has changed. There's different styles, okay? And whether you're a blocker, whether you're a hybrid, whether you're a butterfly, whatever you want to call it, equipment's being made to tailor that. So there's knee brakes, there's inside brakes, outside brakes. But the most significant change to a goal pad is not necessarily in its design. It's come from the materials that the pads are made out of. Let me explain that to you. Goaltenders now use lateral movement, as I know you all know. A lot of goalies use lateral movement, right? Why do they use lateral movement? Well, because of the movement that goes side to side, but also because of the fact that players have sticks that have different flexes. So shots now 10 years ago that were good are now great. Shots that were great are now exceptional. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So as a result of that, goaltending has been forced to change, and materials, the weaves and the foams involved in that. Bauer came out with the vapor, right? And that vapor, do you recall when Henrik Lundqvist came out and then he turned around and he kicked out a rebound?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
He kicked out a rebound, he did a promo. Now, some people went, oh my God, that rocked the goaltending fraternity because the idea was to control rebounds, right?
Like it used to just deaden the puck in front of you so you had it, but now it was getting it out to the boards and away.
Exactly. So now goaltenders had to start to think about, well, rebound control. But rebound control wasn't necessarily about keeping inside. It was about kicking it, moving it, directing it. It opened up the game to how we go about doing things like that. So that UAV foam and the density of that foam has changed things, right? Then you've got materials that allow that lateral slide, the weaves. That's also changed a lot. And that's then incorporated into the styles, right? Look, there's a lot of goaltenders that might turn around and challenge me on, the brakes and how hard the pads are. That also, because CCM, for example, makes the E-flexes and so forth, and they're softer, so you don't have to be in a perfect butterfly as you're lateraling down. It will fold in and allow you, whereas opposed to, say, pads like the new your new range.
Yeah, the Hyperlight
2.
Yeah, Hyperlight 2, right? So those are a harder pad, and you've got to be in a perfect position for that pad to be flush, and just like the Bryans and all the other ones, and they're harder. But again, that's all going down to your technique. But what's driving the technique is the materials, the foams, and the way in which the game's being played, dictated in part also by the way the players and the technology for the players are now actually incorporated. You've seen those where they hook it onto their stick and they do the top corner stuff. You've seen them come down and they're turning around and they're taking snapshots, from inside the blue line. What player 10 years ago would be willing to take a snapshot walking inside the blue line, trying to pick a top corner if they didn't have the flex and the materials that sticks are? That puck's traveling faster now, so then that's what's changing. That's what's changing goaltending styles, but that's why the pads are also evolving as a result of that. That's my belief.
Yeah.
And so, obviously throughout your career, there has been an aspect of customizing your goal pads, like a strap here, something there. Are we to a point now with pads where how they come from factory, you just keep them like that, or are you still changing the strapping system and how it's set up?
So, again, I could just go off on a tangent. I won't, but instead I'll say this: is that so when pads come out of the manufacturer, right? Take for example your pads. They're designed in part because of the way in which the goaltending and the style of play that's being being taught at the moment. So whether you've got your blocking, whether you've got your hybrid, you've got those pads being designed that way. So for example, the straps can cross over. There's reasons why those straps cross over, like behind the legs. There's no more buckles, and there's Velcro. Some people get concerned about that, right? That there's no buckles. I, for one, was concerned about that. But that's because the game is played differently. 10, 15 years ago, you did toe saves. Toe saves.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was
Toe saves don't happen anymore. And more importantly, they were made to down here to fit to the cowling of the goal skate.
Yeah.
And now there's no cowling of the goal skate. I mean, now some of the goalies make fun of the fact that the goalie skates, they look like glorified rental skates. Yeah. But there's reasons for that.
Yeah.
All right, the roundness, there's no cowling, allows the blade to go down lower, which accentuates the ability for your skate to go lower, or for your skate to go like this, so that you can drive and do that lateral movement, which then allows the pad to be changed. Therefore, you don't have to have buckles, you don't have to have straps. So to answer your question, yes, goalies can use the pads that come straight from the manufacturer. Some goalies, though, still like to do the modifications. But again, that's that 1%er stuff, right? That's you can get a few more performance enhancements based around that, but 70-80% of it's coming from the pad design. Then you're looking at that 1%ers after that.
amazing. Well,
I have one more.
we got one more. Yep.
One more. I just want to give you your flowers in the sense that I don't think we touched on it too much, but you were part of that national development program that the kids do now, the camps. I was very lucky to be a part of those ones when they first came in. And that's been huge for the ice hockey community here in Australia to be able to sort of nurture that top level of Aussie players and all that sort of stuff. Like, how did that start in terms of like you introducing that at a national level?
Okay. I
also thank you for setting that up.
Thank you as well, because I went to those and they were absolutely
amazing.
Amazing.
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. So first of all, not just me. There was a team of people that were interested in developing hockey at the grassroots. I was one of them. Don Rurak was another person. Then you had Gary Doré in Newcastle was also committed to that. And then you actually had people that were in different states. Long story short, we decided to bring over Mark Bowles. So before we had national camps, we used to bring a coach over from Canada, and he would devise programs and put everybody through their paces. We quickly realized, though, that doing that is not going to actually work for us long term, because it was a very costly exercise. We needed to actually teach the people based on a program versus somebody coming over and writing the program every year. So then that sent me over to Finland. And I got the opportunity to go and participate at Viramäki and attend a national coaching symposium and watched in 52 countries. If you've ever had the opportunity to go to one of those things, it's really, really cool, but very frustrating. You've got 52 countries, and then you've got interpreters for every 52 countries, and then they talk, and each person talks, and then they interpret it in a different language, and you get your headphones on.
It's like the UN.
Yeah, exactly. Something that takes probably 30 minutes to discuss takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
Anyways, you learn things like, just as an example, did you know that the reason why Finland started winning junior championships is because they worked out that from a mathematical perspective, that if they played 3-on-3, the number of options that 3-on-3, I think was something around just under 5,000 options based on a 3-on-3. Whereas if you introduced 5-on-5, it extrapolated to something like close to over 750,000 options. Players can't learn those many options and then learn those to become habitual in nature. So Finland used the mathematical equation and introduced 3-on-3, and after 4 years started winning world championships because of that type of thing. That's just one thing that I took up from that. Then you learn from other countries. I came back, I talked to Don Rurak and talked to all these people and said, look, we need to incorporate type of stuff. He says, what are you thinking? I said, look, I think if we write a program. So Don, myself, wrote the programs. We used the IIHF programs, we used the Canadian programs, we approached Canada, asked if we could do that, but then we also looked at other countries as well, United States, hockey, that sort of stuff. We wrote to all of them, we asked all of them, pulled it all together, we wrote it, Brian. But then I also had to write a Winter Olympic colloquium. Now, to those of you that don't know what Winter Olympic colloquium is that, or maybe you don't actually know, is that the Australian Ice Hockey Federation, as part of IIHF, had to submit an 8-year plan.
Right.
So we would submit a plan to the IIHF, but we also had to submit it to the Australian Olympic Committee.
Okay.
So I wrote an 8-year program at a high level of how we were going to develop this national program, and then we got money from the Australian Olympic Committee.
Wow.
And then from that, we then used that money in part to run these national camps. We wrote the programs, and then we did the testing. Don Rurak asked the goaltending to me.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I was heavily involved in the skating. I was heavily involved in the stick handling because it's kind of like a little bit of a passion of mine as well. And then the goaltending. So it was a team effort. I'd love to sit here and say it was me, but it was a team effort, and that's how it came to be. And then, of course, I had the luxury and the golden opportunities to work with some incredible goaltenders that went through those programs, as well as players. And some of the goalies that have gone through those programs are Anthony Kimlin as but one. Now, I'm not going to claim that I was his coach, that was the reason why he became that. No, I had the opportunity to coach him as well as Milan's son, as well as some of the other goaltenders of our time now. And got to experience and put them through their paces in those camps. That was a lot of fun, and that's how it eventuated.
Just want to say a huge thank you to Alan Becken for coming on the podcast. He's got such an amazing journey and story, traveling from Canada to becoming a mainstay on the national team, as well as playing in the Super League, the AIHL, now East Coast. It just goes on. So it's been really nice to connect some of the dots throughout his hockey career and learn more about where it all started. So thank you for listening. This is the Hockey Life Podcast.